We are thought Anika's story was over. Wait, but is it? Ibuka wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed the mop across the tiled floors of the mall. The echoes of his past life haunted him with every stroke. Once, he was a man of power and influence, feared and respected. Now, he scrubbed floors while others whispered about his downfall. But he had made peace with it. He had lost everything, his job, his wealth, his dignity, but he still had one thing left, the chance to make things right. Anika watched him from the second-floor balcony, arms crossed. It was strange to see him like this. Gone was the arrogant man who had once treated her like a mere servant. Now, he was just another struggling worker, trying to survive. A part of her wanted to feel satisfaction, to see him suffer the way she had, but she couldn't bring herself to be cruel. Life had already humbled him enough. "Madam, should we let him go?" Madam Kechi, the strict floor manager, asked, eyeing Ibuka with distaste. "Many of the workers feel uncomfortable having him here." Anika sighed, still watching him. "No. Everyone deserves a chance to rebuild. If he does his job well, let him stay." Madam Kechi gave a reluctant nod and walked away. Anika continued to observe. Ibuka's back was bent, his movements slow but steady. He wasn't the man he used to be, but maybe that was a good thing. Later that evening, Chijioke approached her office nervously. The once spoiled boy was different now, quieter, more reserved. "Thank you for today," he murmured, shifting on his feet. "For letting me eat in your office." Anika nodded. "You're still a child, Chijioke. You don't deserve to suffer for your parents' mistakes." His eyes welled up with tears, and for a moment, he looked just like the lost little boy she used to watch from the shadows while she cleaned up after his meals. "Do you hate us?" he asked, voice trembling. Anika exhaled deeply. "I did. But hate is heavy to carry." Chijioke looked down, nodding. "I wish things were different." "They can be," Anika said, standing up. "But that depends on your father." That night, as Ibuka sat in his small rented room, he thought about her words. He had always been a man of pride, but pride had led to his downfall. Now, for the first time in his life, he was willing to change. And he knew exactly where to start. The next morning, just before work began, Ibuka knocked on Anika's office door. "Come in," she said, her voice calm but firm. Ibuka stepped inside, nervous but determined. "Anika, I owe you an apology." She raised a brow, waiting. "I was a monster to you," he continued, voice thick with emotion. "I let my greed and arrogance blind me. I never thought I'd see this day, standing before you like this, stripped of everything I once had. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I deserve everything that happened to me. And I don't expect forgiveness. He exhaled. "I just needed to say I'm sorry." Anika studied him for a long moment before speaking. "Words are easy, Ibuka. Change is harder. If you truly mean what you say, prove it." Ibuka nodded solemnly. "I will." As he walked out, something inside him shifted. This was the beginning of his redemption. But whether or not he could truly make up for the past, that was a journey only time would reveal. Ibuka continued his cleaning duties, each day blending into the next. He had no choice but to endure, just as Anika had endured under his roof years ago. Every morning, he arrived before sunrise, mopping the floors, scrubbing the bathrooms, and taking out the trash. He worked silently, swallowing his pride, knowing this was his only shot at survival. One evening, as the mall was closing, he lingered near the food court, waiting for Chijioke. He had managed to save a small portion of his earnings to buy his son a proper meal. Chijioke's school uniform was still oversized, and his shoes were nearly falling apart, but at least he was eating well. Anika sat in her office, reviewing reports when her assistant, Kelechi, knocked on the door. "Madam, should I lock up?" he asked. She glanced at the clock. It was late. "Yes, but first, tell the kitchen to pack some food for Chijioke," she said. Kelechi hesitated before speaking. "And for his father." Anika's fingers tightened around her pen. For a long time, she didn't respond. Then, after a deep breath, she said, "Yes. Make sure Ibuka gets something too." Kelechi nodded and left. Minutes later, Chijioke walked in, looking shy as always. He still wasn't used to the kindness Anika showed him. She handed him the bag of food. "For you and your father," she said, her voice gentle. Chijioke's eyes widened. "Thank you, Auntie Anika." She only nodded. Later that night, as Ibuka sat on the worn-out mattress in the tiny one-room apartment he now called home, he stared at the neatly packed meal in front of him. His son had already fallen asleep after eating his portion. But Ibuka had lost his appetite. He didn't deserve this kindness. Not after everything he had done. With shaking hands, he covered the food and closed his eyes. Tomorrow was another day, another opportunity to prove himself. Maybe, just maybe, redemption was possible after all. Ibuka wiped the sweat from his brow as he stacked the last of the crates in the storage room. His body ached from the relentless work, but he knew better than to complain. This was his reality now. He had spent years living lavishly off wealth he had not truly earned. Now, he was starting from the bottom, and the journey was humbling. As he stepped out of the storage room, he saw Chijioke sitting in a corner of the break room, flipping through an old textbook. The boy looked up and met his father's gaze. There was no longer the usual resentment in his eyes, just quiet acceptance. They were both trying to adjust to their new reality, even if it was painful. "Are you okay?" Ibuka asked, approaching cautiously. Chijioke hesitated, then nodded. "I'm fine." A long silence stretched between them before Chijioke finally spoke again. "Why did we have to lose everything, Papa?" His voice was soft, but the pain in it was unmistakable. Ibuka sighed and sat beside him. "Because I made bad choices. I thought money and power would last forever. I never imagined a day would come when I would have nothing." He looked at his son. "I'm sorry, Chijioke. I failed you." Chijioke studied his father's face for a long moment before nodding slowly. "At least we have each other now." Ibuka swallowed the lump in his throat and placed a hand on his son's shoulder. "Yes. And I promise you, I'll do everything I can to make things better." Before Chijioke could respond, the door to the break room swung open, and Anika walked in, her sharp heels clicking against the tile floor. She paused when she saw them sitting together, her expression unreadable. "I hope you're not slacking off, Ibuka," she said, crossing her arms. Ibuka immediately stood up. "No, Ma. I was just checking on my son." Anika nodded. "Good. Keep working hard, and maybe you'll earn a second chance in life." She turned to Chijioke. "Have you eaten?" Chijioke shook his head. "Come with me," Anika said. "I don't want you starving in my mall." Ibuka watched as Chijioke hesitated for only a second before following Anika out of the room. He let out a deep breath, rubbing his hands over his tired face. He had a long way to go, but maybe, just maybe, there was still hope for redemption. Ibuka sat quietly in the staff changing room, staring at his reflection in the small cracked mirror. The man who once commanded respect and power was now reduced to a janitor, sweeping floors in the very mall he once owned shares in. Life had humbled him in ways he never imagined. His thoughts were interrupted by the door creaking open. It was Ikena, one of the younger janitors. "Ogre Ibuka," Ikena greeted cautiously. "Are you okay? You've been sitting there for a while." Ibuka forced a weak smile. "I'm fine, Ikena. Just thinking." Ikena hesitated before stepping closer. "I don't mean to pry, but I heard what happened earlier. Chief Namdi, he came begging Madam Anika for help, didn't he?" Ibuka sighed, rubbing his temples. "Yes. And she turned him away." Ikena chuckled. "Serves him right. The rich always think they are untouchable until life teaches them a lesson." Ibuka looked away. He was once like Chief Namdi, thinking he would always be on top. But now, he knew better. Before Ikena could say more, the door swung open again. Anika stood there, her presence commanding the room. Ibuka, I need to speak with you, she said firmly. Ikenna quickly excused himself, leaving them alone. Ibuka stood up slowly, wiping his sweaty palms on his uniform. What is it, Anika? She studied him for a moment before speaking. I have an offer for you. Ibuka's heart pounded. An offer? From Anika? I'm listening. She crossed her arms. I have an orphanage that I sponsor. A home for children who were abandoned, just like I once was. They need a caretaker, someone to manage the place, oversee things, and ensure the children are well taken care of. Ibuka frowned. And you think I'm the right person for that? I think you need a chance to do something meaningful, she said plainly. A second chance, Ibuka. He swallowed hard. Why would you give me that? After everything I did to you? Anika sighed. Because forgiveness is power. And because I refuse to let hate define my future. You can take the job or leave it. But this is the only mercy you'll ever get from me. Ibuka was speechless. A second chance. A chance to make things right. He had lost everything, but maybe, just maybe, this was his way of rebuilding his broken life. After a long silence, he finally nodded. I'll do it. Anika gave a curt nod. Good. Be at the orphanage by 7 tomorrow morning. Don't be late. And with that, she turned and walked out, leaving Ibuka standing there, a glimmer of hope shining in his weary eyes. Anika walked into her office, her heels clicking against the marble floor. The weight of the morning's events sat heavily on her shoulders. She had just finalized a major business deal, but instead of feeling triumphant, her mind was restless. Nana entered, placing a cup of coffee on her desk. You look like you've seen a ghost, she observed. Anika sighed, rubbing her temples. Not a ghost. Just the past trying to resurface. Nana raised an eyebrow. Obinna again? Anika nodded. He sent another letter. Apologizing. Again. Nana scoffed. And let me guess, he wants something? Anika shook her head. This time, he didn't ask for anything. Just said he regrets everything and wishes he had treated me better. Nana folded her arms. And do you believe him? Anika was silent for a moment. I don't know. People change. Or at least, they claim to. But some scars don't fade. Before Nana could respond, her secretary knocked and peeked in. There's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent. Who? The secretary hesitated. It's Ibuka. Anika's heart skipped a beat. She exchanged a glance with Nana before straightening her posture. Let him in. Ibuka entered, looking nothing like the confident man she once knew. His clothes were neat but worn, his eyes heavy with something that looked like regret. Anika, he said softly. She leaned back, her expression unreadable. Ibuka. There was an awkward silence before he cleared his throat. I won't take much of your time. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Anika's face remained cold. Sorry? For what, exactly? For everything, he admitted. For being a coward. For not standing by you when you needed me. For letting my pride destroy everything. Nana let out a sharp breath, but Anika remained composed. And why now? Why are you here after all these years? Ibuka hesitated. Because I see you everywhere. On the news, on billboards, in the stories people tell. And every time, I remember what I lost. I just needed to tell you in person that I regret it all. Anika studied him for a long moment, then stood up. Regret doesn't change the past, Ibuka. It doesn't erase what was done. I know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed you to know. Anika took a deep breath, then walked to the window. If that's all, then you can go. Ibuka nodded, his shoulders slumping as he turned to leave. But just as he reached the door, Anika spoke again. Ibuka. He turned back, hope flickering in his tired eyes. I hope you find peace, she said simply. He gave a small, sad smile. I hope you do too, Anika. As the door closed behind him, Nana exhaled loudly. Well, that was intense. Anika didn't respond. She just stared out the window, her heart heavier than before. The encounter with Chief Namdi had stirred emotions she thought she had buried long ago. She wasn't angry, no. Anger had left her a long time ago. What she felt now was something deeper. Vindication. Justice. A knock on the door pulled her out of her thoughts. It was her assistant, Ada Aura. Ma, there's someone here to see you, Ada Aura said hesitantly. Anika frowned. Who? Ada Aura hesitated. Ebuka. For a moment, Anika didn't respond. She turned back toward the window, gripping the edge of her desk tightly. Let him in. A few seconds later, Ebuka stepped inside. He looked different, thinner, more exhausted. His once proud shoulders were now slouched, and his eyes held a weariness that hadn't been there before. Anika, he said softly. She didn't turn around immediately. She let the silence drag out, making sure he felt the weight of his presence in her space. What do you want, Ebuka? She finally asked, her voice calm but firm. Ebuka swallowed hard. I wanted to see you. To talk. Anika turned slowly, crossing her arms. About what? How you threw me away like trash. How you chose money over me. Or how you and your so-called friends mocked me. Ebuka dropped his gaze. I regret it all, Anika. Every single thing. I was blinded by greed and pride. I thought I was making the right decisions, but in the end, I lost everything. Anika studied him carefully. He was broken. A mere shadow of the arrogant man who once saw himself as invincible. You lost everything, she repeated. Do you even understand what loss means, Ebuka? I lost my childhood. I lost years of my life serving a family that treated me worse than a stray dog. And you, the one person I trusted, abandoned me when I needed you most. Ebuka's lips trembled. I know. And I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But Anika, I need a second chance to make things right. Anika let out a short laugh, shaking her head. You don't get to ask for chances, Ebuka. Life doesn't work that way. Ebuka stepped forward, desperation in his eyes. Please, Anika. Not for me, but for the man I want to become. I'm working hard. I'm trying. I just need. Anika raised a hand, silencing him. I'm not your savior, Ebuka. The only reason I'm even allowing this conversation is because, once upon a time, I loved you. But love doesn't erase consequences. Tears welled in Ebuka's eyes, but he nodded. I understand. She watched him for a moment before speaking again. If you truly want to prove yourself, don't beg for my help. Stand on your own 2 feet. Fix your own mess. Ebuka wiped his eyes and nodded. I will. Anika turned back to the window, her voice softer this time. Then go and do it. Ebuka took a deep breath and walked out, leaving Anika alone with her thoughts once more. Ebuka sat at the staff quarters, staring at the cup of tea in his hands. The once proud businessman had been reduced to this, a janitor struggling to make ends meet. The noise of the mall buzzed in the background, but his thoughts were louder. He had accepted his fall, but the pain of his past mistakes still haunted him. The door creaked open, and Chijioke ran in, excitement lighting up his young face. Uncle Ebuka, Auntie Anika is on the news. Ebuka's heart clenched. Anika. Her name still held power over him, even though she had long moved on. He followed Chijioke to the small television set in the staff lounge, where a live interview was playing. Ms. Anika, you've become an inspiration to many young women. Can you share what motivated you to build your empire? The reporter asked. Anika, seated gracefully in a royal blue gown, gave a small smile. Pain. Betrayal. Loneliness. I took all of it and turned it into fuel. I knew no one would save me, so I had to save myself. Ebuka swallowed hard. Every word cut deep. He had been part of her suffering. And now, she was thriving without him. The reporter continued, "There are rumors that certain powerful men who once underestimated you are now seeking your help. What do you say to them?" Anika's eyes darkened. "I say life is a circle. The same people who mocked me when I was down are now the ones knocking at my door. But I choose who I let in. And I do not forget." Chief Namdi's face flashed in Ibuka's mind. The man had come begging, only to be turned away. Would that be his fate too? The interview ended, and Chijioke turned to him. "Uncle Ibuka, Auntie Anika is so strong. Do you think she will forgive everyone someday?" Ibuka forced a smile. "Maybe, Chijioke. But some wounds take time to heal." Deep down, he knew. Forgiveness was possible. But forgetting? That was another thing entirely. Anika sat in her office, her fingers tapping rhythmically against the desk. The weight of her past was something she had carried for too long, and now, as people from her past resurfaced, she had to remind herself to stay strong. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called. Chijioke stepped inside, his face beaming. "Auntie Anika, there's a man outside. He says he needs to speak with you. He looks desperate." Anika sighed, already having an idea of who it might be. "Send him in." Moments later, Ibuka walked in, his once proud posture now reduced to slouched shoulders and hesitant steps. He looked thinner than before, his eyes tired, but there was something else: regret. "Anika," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Ibuka, what do you want?" He swallowed hard. "I know I have no right to be here. I know I have done things that are unforgivable, but I need a chance to make things right. I am willing to work, to prove myself, too." Anika held up a hand. "You think I don't see you? Every time I come to the mall, I see you scrubbing floors, avoiding my eyes. Do you think that will erase what you did? Do you think working hard now will undo the past?" Ibuka lowered his head. "No, it won't. But I have nothing left. The people I trusted abandoned me. The wealth I thought I had disappeared. And now, I am nothing but a shadow of my past self." Anika studied him carefully. "And what do you expect me to do with this information?" Ibuka clenched his fists. "I don't know. But you are the only person left who truly knows me. The real me. I don't expect you to forgive me, but if there is anything, any small task, any job, anything, I will take it. I just want to be better." Anika sighed and stood up, walking to the window. She stared outside for a long moment before turning back to him. "You want a job? Fine. But I will not make it easy for you. Whatever pride you have left, throw it away now. You will start from the bottom, and if you fail, you are gone." Ibuka's eyes widened in shock. "You mean, you'll give me a chance?" Anika gave a small, bitter smile. "No, Ibuka. I am giving myself a chance to see if you are truly capable of change." He nodded, a glimmer of hope in his weary eyes. "Thank you, Anika. I won't let you down." She held his gaze for a moment before waving him off. "Don't thank me yet. Now get out of my office." As he left, Chijioke peeked in again. "Auntie, is everything okay?" Anika exhaled slowly, nodding. "Yes, Chijioke. Everything is just as it should be." But deep inside, she knew this was just the beginning. Ibuka sat on the worn-out wooden bench outside the staff quarters, staring at the night sky. The cool evening breeze brushed against his skin, but it did nothing to ease the fire burning inside him. The weight of his past mistakes clung to him like a second skin, suffocating, unrelenting. Just then, Anika's voice broke the silence. "You haven't changed, Ibuka. You still sit in silence, hoping your regrets will fix what you've broken." Ibuka turned his gaze to her. She stood a few feet away, dressed in a navy blue dress that accentuated her powerful presence. Her face was unreadable, but there was no mistaking the sharpness in her eyes. He let out a bitter chuckle. "And you still have a way of cutting through a man's soul with your words." Anika crossed her arms. If the truth hurts, then perhaps it's time you stop running from it. He sighed and rubbed his hands together, his calloused fingers evidence of the hard labor he'd endured since his downfall. Anika, She raised a hand, stopping him. Don't. I didn't come here for your apologies. I came here to remind you that every choice has consequences. You made yours, and now you're living them. Ibuka swallowed hard. I just wish I had done things differently. I wish I had valued what truly mattered. Anika studied him for a moment before speaking. Wishes don't change the past. But actions can shape the future. The question is, Ibuka, are you willing to do the work? Or are you going to keep wallowing in self-pity? He opened his mouth to respond but hesitated. He didn't know the answer. Anika shook her head. Figure it out. Because life doesn't wait for anyone. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Ibuka alone with his thoughts, the weight of her words pressing down on him harder than ever. As human beings, we need to be always good to people because no one knows tomorrow. Thank for watching from all around the world. We apologize for the story mix-up. We are currently readjusting and we are dedicated to bringing you seamless stories. Please support us to help us reach this goal by gifting us super thanks. You can find the thanks option below the video, next to the thumbs up, dislike, and share buttons. Super thanks is a feature here on YouTube that allows you to show extra gratitude to us by purchasing a special animation and a distinct, colorful, and customizable comment in the comment section. Hello family. As usual, kindly tell us where you are watching from and the time your watch says right now in the comment section. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. New series are coming very soon. Subscribe. Feel free to support us by joining Zara Premium. Thanks.